Judy with Domicile Design. And Domicile Design, we specialize in custom home furnishings. We fabricate and design soft furnishings for the home. Could be window treatments, pillows, slip covers, things like that. But we also do a lot of crafting. And I particularly am drawn to things that have a lot of pattern or design. I have a graphic design and a textile background. So in today's episode, I would like to introduce you to something called penny rugs. And penny rugs go back to colonial time and maybe even before that. I've been cleaning out my workroom, and I don't keep too many magazines with craft projects or anything in it, but I came across this one magazine as I was cleaning out, and it's Country Home Folk Crafts from October 1994. And in it, there were several crafts that I'm interested in. It was actually given to me by a neighbor, so I must have seen it at her house and been really drawn to one of the projects in here, one of the articles, and she let me have it. And I've kept it for all these years, hoping to get time to get around to exploring this project myself. So a penny rug, the best explanation, I'm going to read it to you straight from this magazine, so bear with me, but I think it's the best definition of a penny rug that I've come across so far, and it's going to give you an idea about this project and all the different elements. So it says, penny rugs are a type of table rug that emerged in the 1800s when the term rug was applied to coverings for tables and beds. Most early table rugs echoed applique quilt designs and were decorated with leaves, flowers, birds, stars, and other natural motifs. By the middle of the 19th century, patchwork became popular, and most table rugs made after the Civil War were pieced with small scraps or circles of fabric. They were known as penny rugs, dollar rugs, or button rugs, after the templates used to mark the circles. The term penny rug is now used to refer to a table covering made with either round penny shapes or more figural designs. Using decorative blanket stitching in contrast thread, the wool scraps are appliqued to the solid background fabric. Often circles of graduating in size and contrasting colors are stacked on top of each other and outlined with colorful stitching. Scalloped edging, a simple binding, or a tongue-shaped tab border the rugs, which are backed with cotton or linen. And this article is written about a woman named Barbara Bond, and I'm going to put a link because she actually has an active Instagram page right now. She's still making penny rugs, and she sells penny rug kits as well. So this is about Barbara Bond, and I'm going to show you some of the pictures. Now, you have to keep in mind, this is from 1994, and what I love about penny rugs and this style of working with wool, textiles, design, and stitching is that what you'll see is it's quite timeless. I'm revisiting it and putting a little bit more of a modern spin on it, but it's still very much rooted in a traditional type of craft. So here's one here, sort of an early American design. Here's one. Here you can see a tree, and you can see the circles and the birds. And then I'm going to show, here's a few more. So I love this horse one. You can see, there's a picture of Barbara there, but here's a horse one, and you can see the repetition of design. And then there you can see the lions, the tree, the bird, the stars, and there's one here on the bottom where you can kind of see the tab fringe and all the circles, the concentric circles that she has. but it's very, very basic. You can get, trying to get the glare out, you can get different kind of embroidery stitching, but it's all pretty basic stitching with this type of technique. So I'm going to show you, this is when I didn't have time, back in 1994, my kids were young, I didn't have a whole lot of time for crafting and doing things, so it was kind of tucked away as, you know, someday I'll be able to come and visit it and explore this, this project of penny rugs. And what I've found that I've collected over the time is I've collected some myself. I haven't, this one is not one I made. I purchased this one at a craft fair and I love it. They're also called candle mats. So what I'm showing you would be called, these round ones are called candle mats. Because if you can imagine, you'd put a votive in a glass here on the center of your table, or you'd put a pillar candle or something in the center. But this one, I love this one. If you can see, the snowman faces are actually, this is all craft felt. Snowman faces are actually felted on the craft felt. The mouth is embroidered. The hat is pieced with colored felt, appliqued on with the blanket stitch. And in the corner, let's see here, in the corner, these are little white buttons that decorate the hats, the snowman hat. So that one I thought was great. And you can see it's just solid white on the back. You don't see any stitch marks because this is actually 2 layers of felt together. So all of the back side of your stitching is covered up with a piece of craft felt, and this one. So this is another one that I purchased. You can tell that I've continued to be drawn by these candle mats and this technique of making penny rugs. So in this case, this is all thin, fairly thin pieces of wool. And these are all wool pieces, blanket stitch around, done in pretty fine embroidery thread. And you'll also see, maybe in these dragonflies, can you see that there are beads in the dragonflies? So this one uses those little seed beads. And on the back side, it's a piece of cotton batik. Very pretty. So kind of echoing that it's got fish design. So it's kind of a fish water theme to go along with the lily pad and the dragonflies and the cattails. So I love it. This one goes out on my table in the fall, signals fall. This one, of course, I bring out in February. I usually decorate my time. I don't put Santas out or snowmen out at Christmas time. That's usually Santa's. But snowmen come out for me in February. So I love to see that one in winter. So today I'm going to show you one. I was talking to my dad a few weeks ago about this project, or just doing a series of videos, and he said, oh yeah, why don't you do something for St. Patrick's Day? And I thought, I don't really have much at all for St. Patrick's Day. It's not, I don't decorate my house too much for the holidays, but I like to mark the changing seasons, and I don't like to accumulate, now that you're getting older, trying to get rid of stuff. The kids are older, so I don't decorate so much for the holidays. But I like to mark the seasons, and I like to mark the changing time. And I think what I love about these penny rugs is I can have a whole stack of them, and they don't take up a ton of space. And I can kind of keep them in drawers with my linens and not have to always tuck them away with the holiday decor, which tends to go into the basement, and it comes up every once in a while. So these are great for just keeping, in a kitchen with your table linens, and they're not going to take up a ton of space, and they give you a way to sort of mark the changing of the seasons. So I had thought, you know, I hadn't really done anything much. St. Patrick's Day, I might put some green shamrocks on my front storm door and, you know, call it done. So I don't really, you know, I don't really have a ton of things for St. Patrick's Day, and I thought doing a penny rug and the candle mat would be a perfect project, because this is something, I've got a Lazy Susan on my kitchen table. So, and it's a nice round shape, and these round penny rugs, actually, you know, the candle mats, they look perfect on the Lazy Susan. So this is the one that I've come up with, which my dad sort of suggested, you know, the theme of St. Patrick, or St. Patrick's Day. And this is the penny rug that I came up with. And what I love about these penny rugs is that it's a way for you to choose a theme, choose a design element, and then repeat it. And in repeating it, you get to make sort of even another design out of it. So I sort of took that even one step further, and I'll show you, because I'm going to show you how I made it. I love making 4-leaf clovers out of the heart design. So the heart shape repeated 4 times. You could do three times if you just want a regular clover, but if you want the lucky clover, which I always think with St. Patrick's Day, you know, it's a combination of the 4-leaf clover and the pot of gold, and you can add a rainbow if you want. But so I just love the design element of making a 4-leaf clover out of the heart motif. So I actually had a Valentine heart. It was red, out of cardboard, and I used it to cut out my 4 green hearts. And then I thought, you know, because the penny rugs are great for layering, so I simply cut a smaller shape in a lighter green that kind of echoed the outline, so I could get that layering effect. And that was my starting point. And then I figured I needed a pot of gold. So then I just freehand drew the pot of gold down here, cut it out of black felt, and you'll see on mine I also used beads. So if you can see the little seed beads in my pot of gold, I've got them down there. And on the back, I just used another piece of solid, sort of oatmeal colored felt for the back. So I'm going to show you in a tutorial how to do this. I think I'm going to be making some more of these because they're actually kind of quick and they're fun, and I really, now that I have time to play with design, I've got a ton of different craft felt that I can play with in different ways and come up with designs. Then I've also thought, you know, what I want to do, I've got a really pretty extensive collection of cookie cutters. These are just, you know, the sugar cookie cutters. And this one is like a maple leaf, you can see. So what I want to do is actually go through my cookie cutter collection, and I want to start cutting some of those cookie cutters out of felt to see if I can create some different design montages, maybe make some more candle rugs out of that. I've got cookie cutters that I've never made sugar cookies with. Just, you know, it's one of those things I would see an interesting shape and think, you know, oh, that's really cool. So I would get it with the idea that, you know, you could do more than just make cookies out of these cookie cutter shapes. So that's going to probably be some future episodes, is me using some of my cookie cutters to make shapes. But I'm going to show you how I made the St. Patrick's one. I'm going to move the camera around and put it behind my back so you can see me stitching it. I'm also going to add a bead element, more bead element to the second one that I'm doing. This one I'm actually going to give to my dad because he suggested it, so I think he should have this one. But I'm going to ask you, I'm also going to do a giveaway. I'm asking you to like, subscribe, comment, or share this video. And what I'm putting together is a kit that I will raffle off 30 days from when this first gets posted. I've cut out pieces, and you can make your own St. Patrick's Day candle mat. You'll get the circles, the heart, both the heart colors. You'll get 4 of the pot of gold. And I'll talk to you. I can either give you the gold beads if you want the gold beads, or I can give you some gold felt that you can applique on if you just want all felt. So like, subscribe, comment to our channel. We're trying to grow our channel, and we like engagement. So in 30 days from when this gets posted, I'll do a drawing, and I'll send it out wherever it goes. I'll send it out to you, and I'll also send to you. I've predominantly used just this gold embroidery floss, so I'll send you enough of the gold embroidery floss to finish out your project. But you will need scissors, and you'll need a crewel needle or an embroidery needle, something with a nice big eye to it and a nice point. I use the crewel needles. This is also, you may have seen in my mitten video, I have cards with embroidery floss. So I'm hoping that when I do more with my cookie cutters, that I get to use some of these different colored flosses in my project. I do have even like a silver floss here, embroidery floss, and I noticed today that my dragonfly mat actually has some metallic thread in it as well. So it's really fun. You can use up scraps, you can, add buttons, you can do some needle felting to your craft felt to get another design element going, or another layer, or another texture. So it's really kind of wide open, and I'd love to see how you take this design concept, this tutorial, and see how you make it unique for your own interests and what you have on hand. So I am going to flip the camera around, and I will show you kind of over my shoulder. I will show you how I do the stitching, and we're going to speed it up a little bit. It's going to be minimal talking, and I'm going to kind of speed it up so that you don't have to sit and watch it in real time. And yeah, I'd love the feedback, and I'd love to hear how your candle mat went, or what has inspired you to investigate penny rugs. So be sure to check them out on Instagram and Google it. You'll see a lot of people doing some really creative and fun things with this, just this basic design concept. And it's great. It's a small project. It's quick to do. And like I said, it's a nice way to sort of mark the change of seasons, mark the calendar, and have a little bit of decoration in your house. That doesn't take up a whole lot of space, and yeah, would also be I think probably a great gift for somebody you're not sure what to get them. Something like this is certainly not something that you see every day in a store, and you can personalize this to be something that has their interests or their likes, or maybe their favorite holiday, and I'm sure it'll be appreciated. So yep, I will flip the camera around and show you how I put this together. Okay? Okay, so here I have my 2 rounds cut out, and I'm going to start with just 1 round. I'm going to put 1 round aside. And the first thing we need to do is find our center mark on this. I'm just going to fold it kind of in half, do a gentle press there. I'm going to fold it up again this way. Do a little press this way. Now you may not be able to see it, but I can kind of see where that is. That's kind of my center there. I don't have pins with me right now, but I've just put a little bit of tape, which I'll remove later. So I'm going to put 4 together at a point, and I'll move them if I need to. It's okay if these don't line up perfectly in the center because the lighter shade of green will come in. So that actually looks a little low. I'm going to redo finding my center because I'm not really happy with that. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to put a pin through this corner right here. And then let me open it up. That should be our center there. Let's see how that looks. So that looks a lot more centered to me. This one is just a tad. So I've got a little piece of tape on each one of these, and I will be removing that piece of tape when I go to stitch it. And that is just marking my center. Floss, I'm going to use 2 strands. This is 6 strands in the floss, and I'm just going to use 2 at a time for my stitching. So you have to separate. I like to use smaller lengths so that I'm not dealing with knots as I stitch. And I like to use a needle thread. Okay, so here's the round that I'm going to be working with, and I've marked my center and placed my 4 green hearts here to make my shamrock design. I don't have straight pins with me right now, so I've just used a little bit of tape underneath to tack them, and as I go around I'm going to be removing that tape. It's just there to kind of keep things in position as I stitch. So if you go back to the mitten bookmark, you'll see sort of more of a tutorial on the blanket stitch. But I'm just using the blanket stitch all around these shapes. The embroidery floss comes in 6-ply, and I've broken it apart, separated it, and I used 2-ply, 2 strands for going around all of my shapes. But when it came to the edge stitching of this one, I actually used all 6 strands in my edge stitching around the outside because I kind of wanted it to show and be more of a detail. So it's thicker here, 2 strands around here, 2 strands around the pot, and so I'm just going to get started. So I'm not going to talk too much, and we're going to speed the film up so that it doesn't take so long. You don't have to watch it all in real time. And I'm just going to stitch around the outside using a blanket stitch of all 4 of these pieces. I have my light green pieces. They're already cut here, and I'm going to place those in the same way. They'll go in like that, and they'll all kind of meet in the center. I'll make whatever adjustments I need to make, and I'll blanket stitch all around those. Then I'll do the little pot of golds. I just sort of eyeball those, and I use a little measure to sort of double check my distance from the edge to make sure they're all basically the same distance going around. And and then I put in my beads for the gold. So I'll probably stop when I show you how I do the beads there, and I'll stop again when I show you the extra little bling that I'm going to do to this project. So I'm just going to start stitching, and I'm going to stop talking, and we'll be able to speed this video up, and you'll be able to see it all happen in a quicker time. Okay, so now the 4 green hearts are stitched on, and I decided to change the angle of the camera to see if this is any better. If you've noticed, I'm left-handed, so some of what I do may have been hidden. We'll see if this is any better. So for the green, the lighter green, I'm just going to line them up into the center. Like that. And it's always trickiest to start. Once you start, then it goes a little smoother. And the thing to remember about the blanket stitch is whatever depth you take as a little bite in your stitch, you just want to be consistent going around. And you also want to be consistent with this spacing here. There's a tendency, I have a tendency to, when I get to here, I start to speed up and my spacing becomes a little bit wider, usually at the beginning or at the end. I usually try and stay pretty consistent around the curves, but that's sort of a natural tendency. So the key with the blanket stitch is consistency. Whatever stitch length you take, you just want to kind of try and be consistent all the way around. But in this case, I'm going to be putting a row of beads around here as well. So it may not be so obvious. And once you get all of the stitches on, perfectionist is not the key that we're going for. I mean, this is very much a folk type craft. So a little imperfection is a good thing. So I'm going to start by stitching on these lighter green pieces, and hopefully you'll just have an easier time seeing what I'm doing with the camera change. So we'll go ahead and we'll speed up where we can so that you're not having to watch this in real time. Piece is pretty much where I was with our original piece. The only thing I haven't done is the beads. So I've done everything up to the beads on this one. On the original one, what I did is I have these little gold loops here of seed beads that I stitched down. And what I wanted to do for this one is add a few more beads, because I found when I went through my bead collection, I've got these green beads here, these string of beads, and they're already on thread. So I thought, well, that would be easy to use to incorporate into this. So I'm going to put a row of these green seed beads right around the edge stitching of my shamrock, and it may be difficult to see on film, but what these seed beads do is they just kind of catch the light in a really nice way, and I still use the contrast thread here so you can see the blanket stitching still even with the bead seeds. But I'm going to switch to a green embroidery floss for stitching on my rows of bead seeds, because I don't want, if I mess up, I want to be able to get to secure this this line of seed beads right in between the beads, so you don't really even see the stitching marks. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the outside, and then what I'm contemplating doing on this row here, I could do the green there as well. I could do a double row of green. Or what I was thinking of doing, green down here, and I'm contemplating, I haven't decided yet, but I may drop in the gold seeds there, the bead seeds there, seed beads. So I may drop in the gold there. I want to do the green first, see how it all looks. But right now I'm kind of thinking I'm going to go with the gold on that inner. But we'll see. I might just stick with gold for the little pots of gold. And I may in fact end up doing green there as well. But I wanted to get this row of green on first, and then I'll decide about that, whether or not it's going to be green or gold. So, let's see how this goes on. To show you some progress that I've made. This is actually the next day, and off camera I finished up the beading. I did the seed beads, the green seed beads around this outside edge, and I also decided to do the same green seed beads along this lighter green edge all the way around. And I used a green embroidery floss with that. I have also done 3 of the gold seed beads in the pots of gold, and I left the 4th one to show you. And you can see I've also started blanket stitching. So first I'm going to show you how I did the gold seed beads for the pots of gold. I just sort of did a clover leaf design, and I did 8 beads in each of the smaller, so I have to measure out, count out 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. So I used 8 beads for the first loop, and this is wired. Ideally, this would probably be strung on a thread. But this is, I didn't bring my, don't have my bead needle with me, so I'm just going to use the wired seed beads right now. And I found that they actually, I think they'll work fine for this. I don't plan to send this in the washer or anything. So I just twist around. I put 8 beads on the first loop. I got 12 beads in the center. I'm going to bring 12 beads down for the larger center. 2, 4, 6. 10, 12. And I'm just twisting this around just enough to make a loop. Give it a few twists just to kind of hold everything in place. So that's my center loop. And now I have one more small loop to do with another 8 beads on it. Count these. 2, 4, 6, 8. Is right there. So I'm just forming a loop. Keep things tight, give them a little twist, keep them in place. Now I have 2 ends of the wire hanging. I need to cut this. This is really, really thin wire, and I'm just using some scissors that I really don't care too much about. I would never use my fabric or my thread shears on this. Twist that. And I'm just going to twist a little stem down a little bit. So if this were thread, it wouldn't be so rigid. It might be a little bit more floppy. It would work just the same. And with the wire, I'm just sticking it sort of in the top of the pot. And it doesn't matter if it comes down through the bottom. That's okay. But I'm trying to just sandwich it in between the 2 layers. I don't want the wire coming up, but it doesn't matter if they're going down because we have the lining here, another felt lining. Okay, so once that's in, now I'm just going to use my needle to secure it in a few places. And I found that all I need to do on this one is I put a little tack in the center, I put a tack at each end. And for the top one it's a little bit bigger, so I actually put 3 tacks. So I'm doing a tack on the side, a tack in the center here, and then another one on the side. And my embroidery floss is just going in, it's just going to sit in between these beads, and it really doesn't even show. So you're just kind of going up and down, sort of straddling the beads and the wire, and that's going to be enough to keep it all secure and in place. And that's all I did for the bead seed edging too. I just did a running stitch and embroidery floss to secure in between each bead. So that is, that's the 4th pot of gold there. And then I'm going to show you here, it's a little bit bigger, so I'm thinking you might be able to see the blanket stitching a little bit better on the outside. This is the same blanket stitch we did for the smaller ones. This is using 6 strands of embroidery floss because I really want it to show up on the outside. You could split this and do 3 strands if you don't want the look so strong. You can split it. You could certainly use 2 strands like you did for the interior, but I like the contrast in texture. So the thing to remember with the blanket stitch again is you just want to be consistent. Whatever depth you take in the stitch and the distance between stitches, you just kind of want to stay pretty much consistent with that spacing. When you start going faster, or when I start going faster, I tend that my gauge and my spacing seems to waver a little bit. And so for this blanket stitching, see, I've put the back on it. This is the same circle as the front, and when I do my blanket stitch, it's going through all, so it's just going through both layers and up like that. So I'm just going to continue around until I get to where I started. So here's the finished piece, and this is the one that has the extra seed beads on it. It is a reminder. Here's the one we started with that doesn't have all the seed beads on it, and I think both of them actually looked pretty great. After having done all the seed beading on the second one, I think I actually am really preferring this one here. There's something about the simplicity of the felt and the embroidery stitching and just a little bit of beading on it. It's really quite nice. So remember to like, subscribe, share, and leave us a comment. And I hope that this inspires you to do some of your own projects. I know that it's inspired me. I'm going to be looking through my cookie cutter collection, and I'm going to start cutting out some of the shapes from my cookie cutters out of felt to see what other designs I can come up with. And before I go, I wanted to show you again. This might be a better view. This is the Snowman. This is one that I purchased, and you can see maybe a little bit clearer. The nose and the eyes were felted, and this was embroidered. The hat was appliqued on with the blanket stitch, and these are little plastic buttons in each of the corner of the hats. And then this is what they call a candle mat. So you'd have your taper or a votive or something sitting inside this on your table. And then here's the other one. I'll show you an up close again. This one was the dragonflies, and this is where I was inspired to look through some of my beads. This one has beads on the little dragonflies here. And that's the only place the dragonflies are the only place that the beads show up. The rest of it, kind of like my original one where it's just a touch of bead. So, you know, I'm glad I had the green beads to use them because I've got them. They're not real obvious, and I've got them, so I'm glad I've used them. But I think, you know, next time around, I'll probably do a little bit more or less with the beads. But yeah, happy with the way it turned out. I hope that this has inspired you. I'd love to see what you end up doing. Thank you for watching, and like I said, please connect with us. We'd love to hear what you've done and see the projects you're working on. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comment box. Thanks for watching.